The snowstorm came down from the mountains like a living thing, silent at first, then merciless, swallowing the narrow frontier road and the last fragile hope Margaret Hale had been clinging to since dawn. When the wagon stopped and the man who was supposed to be her husband would not even look at her as he told her to get down, she remembered the way his jaw tightened, the way his eyes flicked to the horizon as if she were already a ghost, and how he said almost calmly that he had changed his mind, that he did not need a wife after all. Not one who arrived thin and tired from months of travel, not one who asked too many questions about kindness. She remembered standing there in the snow, her breath shaking, her shoes already soaked through, watching the wagon roll away and disappear into the white as if it had never existed, as if she herself had already vanished from the world. The cold crept in fast, biting her feet, stealing feeling from her legs, clouding her thoughts until survival became nothing more than instinct. She tried to follow the road, but the storm erased all direction, and when she fell, the snow welcomed her like a grave. In confusion and pain, she tore off her frozen shoes, unaware she was sealing her fate, curling into herself as memories of her mother's gentle hands and the word home drifted through her fading mind. Far beyond the white veil, a Lakota warrior named Matosapa moved through the storm with steady purpose, returning from a hunt, reading signs in the wind and snow that others would never notice. When he saw the dark shape on the ground, he approached cautiously, then froze at the sight of a barefoot woman barely clinging to life, her red hair crusted with ice, her breath shallow and uneven. Without hesitation, he knelt, wrapped her in his buffalo hide cloak, and pressed warmth back into her frozen body, murmuring prayers as he lifted her with careful strength and carried her toward the shelter of his people's winter camp. Margaret drifted between worlds, aware only of warmth replacing pain, of a deep voice anchoring her to life, until darkness finally gave way to rest. When she awoke inside a lodge warmed by fire and smoke, pain flared in her feet but life pulsed strong in her chest, and beside her sat the man who had refused to let her die, his presence calm, respectful, unthreatening. Over the days that followed, Matosapa tended her wounds, fought frostbite with herbs and patience, and ignored warnings from others who feared the trouble her presence might bring, because leaving her to die would have haunted him far more. Margaret learned where she was through gestures and broken words, and though she was surrounded by strangers, she felt safer than she ever had with the man who claimed he wanted her as a wife. As winter loosened its grip, she regained her strength, walking again in borrowed moccasins, helping where she could, watching the quiet strength and compassion of the man who had saved her, realizing that cruelty had nearly killed her, but kindness had brought her back to life. One night, trembling with emotion, she told him everything about the letter, the promise, the abandonment, the moment she realized she had been left to die, and he listened without judgment, his expression darkening not with hatred, but with understanding, placing his hand over his heart, and then over hers in a silent vow that her suffering mattered. When spring finally came and traders appeared on the horizon, offering her a path back to the world she had known, Margaret felt a surprising ache at the thought of leaving, knowing that even if their paths diverged, the bond forged in the snowstorm would live within her forever, a reminder that humanity can rise where hope seems buried. And if this story moved you, if you felt the cold, the fear, and the quiet power of compassion, then you belong here with us. Subscribe to the channel now for more unforgettable stories of survival, courage, and the moments that change lives forever.